Hey guys, welcome. Tony Maritato here, physical therapist, and in this video I want to touch on a hot button topic that's important to the success of any private practice. How do you handle no-shows and cancellations? We'll talk about the typical ways these things are handled. We'll talk about the alternative ways these things are handled and the effects it's going to have on your business. So without a doubt, cancellations and no-shows are the biggest negative impact on your business success because you're blocking potentially an hour of time for each individual patient, and when that patient doesn't arrive or that patient cancels without giving you adequate notice and time to schedule another patient in that spot, you not only lose the revenue from that patient visit, you also lose the cost that it takes to keep the clinic, the business in operation. If you're a mobile therapist, I can't even imagine the frustration of driving to a patient's home and the patient not being there or the patient refusing therapy. So let's talk about some alternatives. Now, what's the standard in the profession right now? Typically, it's a punitive action. It's, I'm going to punish you for not participating in therapy. I'm going to give you a cancel fee, a late fee, something that could be as high as the value of the session. Which, I get it. I do. I understand. If you're not profitable, you're not going to be able to stay in business. But on the flip side, I think there are better options, because what really happens? You know, I'm a parent. I've got 4 little boys at home, and I can be the first one to tell you that when I punish one of those boys, if I take something away, if I make them do this, that, or the other, it's as much a punishment on me as it is a punishment on my son. Because I'm the one that has to be there to police it and to make sure everything is going right, and everything that's, whatever part of the punishment it is, it's being carried out. And that's what happens in therapy. Punishment doesn't work in any scenario. So what happens in therapy? You do a $50 last minute cancellation fee. Well, guess what? The patient says, you know what? It wasn't my fault. I'm not going to pay that $50, and they don't come back. And if they don't come back, they don't complete their plan of care. So now you lost the revenue from the entire rest of the episode of care. You also put an individual in the community who is never going to admit that they were in the wrong. They're going to blame you. They're going to feel bad. They're going to feel insecure, but they're going to blame you. You're the bad guy in this situation. So we always want to create raving fans. This is the opposite of creating a raving fan. And I know you understand this. I know you know this, but it really has to be discussed and it has to be addressed publicly. So what are some other options? What are other clinics doing? What am I doing? How are you going to handle this? Well, I think that you could build some redundancy into the system. You can keep more of a fluid schedule. I've shared this in a previous video. If I get a chance, I'll share it in the description or up above. But basically, what we do is we have kind of a 5-step process. So when a patient calls, and you know that's the goal, if they call and they try to cancel at the last minute, or they try to cancel on the same day, anybody who answers a phone knows they have 5 options. They're going to either try to reschedule that patient within the same day. They're going to try to reschedule that patient within the same week. They're going to add an additional visit to the upcoming week. So if this patient is normally doing 3 times a week, we're going to shoot for 4 times a week. And then once those 3 options are exhausted, they're going to look for another patient that's already scheduled later in the current week, and they're going to try to move them forward. Because let's say, for example, it's Wednesday and I've got a new evaluation on Friday. I'm going to call that new evaluation and see if that patient wants to come in today. Because if I can move that new evaluation up to today, then obviously we can get a second session on Friday. I start to kind of negate some of the effects, the harmful effects of the cancellation. Or I just look at anybody else on the schedule. Maybe I look at, and in our case, we have a wellness program. These are people that have completed rehabilitative physical therapy. Now they're on a combination of a covered, non-covered maintenance program. And so if I have the opportunity to take somebody who's doing this kind of program, and maybe they've been in the clinic 4 to 6 weeks, they're ready for an update, it's medically necessary, it's a covered service, I'm going to bring that person and fill that spot. So that's a great option. But what are some other options? Well, we know as providers, we sell individual units. So I've shared another video in the past talking about group therapy versus one-on-one single unit visits. And I believe that one-on-one single unit visits far superior to billing group therapy. And so in a case like that, if I have an individual or a group of patients that are in the clinic, maybe they've progressed in their plan of care, maybe they're moving toward discharge, but they're not ready for discharge. And so I've got a couple patients that are doing single unit sessions, but they have a paid membership in the clinic. So they're doing their own program, their home exercise program in the clinic under the paid membership. And then we're doing one-on-one for a single unit. So let me play this out in a real scenario. Let's pretend I've got 3 patients. I'm going to make it super simple. I've got 3 patients that show up at 8 o'clock. 2 of the 3 patients are scheduled for a single unit session, but they're going to be in the clinic for anywhere between 40 and 60 minutes. The 3rd patient is scheduled for 2 units. This patient isn't as advanced as the other 2, so I'm going to be doing more patient care with that particular individual. So patient A receives one-on-one therapy from the moment that he arrives from 8 to 8:15. One-on-one with that patient. The other 2 patients are going through their program. They know how to stretch, they know how to use the recumbent bike, they know how to do the things that need to be done, so they go ahead and start doing that. From 8 to 8:15, I've got a billable one-on-one unit with patient A. From 8:16 to 8:30, I work with patient B. While I'm working with patient B, patient A is starting to do the independent stuff that needs to be done under the paid membership program. Then by 8:30, 8:31, I'm ready to start working with patient C. Now I do 30 minutes with patient C. Patient C already had 30 minutes potentially of independent, semi-supervised programming. So that might be a typical hour. 3 patients in the hour, 4 billable units, 2 single unit visits that are not affected by MPPR, which is a major reduction in your allowed amount. The 3rd patient has 1 of 2 units that's not affected by MPPR, because we know that the first highest relative value unit is paid at the full allowed amount, and then all subsequent units are reduced by MPPR. And if you don't know what MPPR is, go ahead and search the channel. You'll find a video describing it. But basically, in this scenario, I've got 3 potential candidates in the clinic during this hour of time. Well, what happens if 1 of the 3 doesn't show? Maybe 1 of my single unit visits doesn't show. All of a sudden, I've got an extra billable unit. So I take patient A for 2 units and patient C for 2 units. What if patient C doesn't show? Well, then I do an extra unit with A and I do an extra unit with B. Do you understand how this works? So if I know that I've got a capacity for 4 one-on-one billable units in an hour, and I know that I'm in an area, a demographic, where I have a relatively high cancel no-show rate, I build redundancy into my program, into my physical therapy clinic, so that if 1 patient doesn't show, it's okay because I've got a 2nd patient in the clinic. And if the 2nd patient doesn't show, it's okay because I've got the 1st patient in the clinic. And if neither one of them show, it's okay because I've got a wellness patient in the clinic, right? Like, there's always an opportunity for me to turn that time into the business that I'm in, which is providing care to people who need the care. Now, of course, we go to the extreme. Well, what happens if all of a sudden nobody in the clinic needs therapy? So then I do something else. I create amazing videos just like this to help inform and educate other physical therapists, occupational therapists, and speech language pathologists just like you, so that you guys can get out from under the thumb of an employer and start doing amazing things. And if you like these messages, if you like these videos, if you think they have any value, the best way to show me that you care about the profession is to give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and watch the next video when I publish it. I'll catch you later.